Welcome to our webinar Beyond Vanity Social Media in 2026. My name is Frank van der Koppel. I am Director Creative Strategy at Hotwire, and I lead several digital teams. And here's Annie.
Thank you, Frank. I'm Annie Tracogna. I'm a senior account director of digital here in our UK office. I am a digital specialist with sort of expertise spanning content strategy, social media comms, influencer marketing, kind of done the whole gamut. But yeah, it's going to be fun today. It won't just be B2B per se. It's going to be some B2C conversations thrown out as well, anything that we're basically chatting about with our clients on a day-to-day basis.
That's exactly that. We're super excited. Some context on this. This is actually a report that we created at the start of the year, Beyond Vanity. We'll explain more to why it's called. You'll have that magical moment that the movie's title makes sense uh, mid through our webinar, I would say. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through this report that we created with the biggest changes in 2026. And I know we're well on our way in 2026, but there's many things that have already changed, and it's always good to have a little refresher. And at the end, we'll answer all of the questions that we can. So feel free to put them in either the chat or the Q&A, what is available. We have our lovely producer Carlos on the back doing slides and looking at that. So that is fantastic. I would say with that, we can go to the next slide, which is from billboard to decision engine, the new metrics for success. So the social algorithms have been moving quite a bit the last, I would say, 12 to 16 months. We've seen platforms experimenting with different formats, canceling some formats, changing quite a lot of things. And there's one big thing that I think all of you all noticed, and that is that social media is no longer just human created content. There is a lot of synthetic content out there for the good and for the bad. But I believe a recent stat is that about 60% on content on Instagram is already AI generated, which is quite a wild number if you were
Mm.
there to follow your friends. Um, we're gonna get into a lot of the details. The one thing to share up front is that we're going to talk about algorithms quite a bunch, and we're also going to talk about AI. We're also going to talk about LLMs a little bit, and we're going to talk about ML as and I know that's a slightly older term. Um, Starting with ML. ML is machine learning, basically, which is just like an algorithm that learns from all different kinds of the simplest explanation, right? It learns from different engagements and from different data pillars, and that is an algorithm that is set that is rather linear. Then there's the LLMs, large language models that can analyze data in a much different way, like how we all are used with the ChatGPTs, Claudes, and Copilots. Um, and they are now also in we'll get to that on the next slide, but there's the LLMs. Then it's good to know algorithms. When we talk about them, we mean the social media algorithms that are behind the feeds and the timelines on all of your favorite social channels. So specifically looking at um, for example, LinkedIn, the feed is with an entire right, like behind that is an algorithm, and we compared that in the last webinar as a supermarket. When you go to a regular supermarket, you find the products where they are for everyone. If Annie goes to the supermarket and I go to the same one, we have the same experience. But on social media, we like the supermarket reference because it's a customized supermarket, which means that if I go to that supermarket, I see a fully different supermarket than Annie would see because it's totally based on our engagements, our interests, and what we want to see, and that's how these apps keep us engaged. For some things, we love that. For example, if I open YouTube, I get really premium content about tech, etc. And on other channels, I'm just like, what the hell is this? There's ways to train those. We're not going to get into that, but there's that. We want to so keep that in mind that with algorithm, we mean that it's specifically tailored to you as a receiver of those channels while we get into that. Anything to add, or are we good?
No, good to go.
Right. Then we can go to the next slide, Carlos. This is a little update for those who joined last time. Thank you. And this is a little update on that. So in the recent month, we have seen several channels updating their algorithms with LLMs in there. So AI, basically artificial intelligence. Um, For years, the algorithms were ML based, so machine learning based, and they counted clicks, likes, watch time, and they basically measured everything that you did, but not per se what you meant. So in many cases, those algorithms did not fully get you, but it was already creepy, but not maximally creepy. That era is ending now with LinkedIn, Meta, and others replacing their traditional machine learning with large language models to understand context, intent, and semantic meaning. That means that the algorithm basically no longer asks you as marketers, did people engage? It asks, does this person actually know what they're talking about? So you have to be double down on that expertise. The content categorization will be much more aggressive on that side. Not sure if any of you have noticed this. Annie and I are both students of the algorithms at this point, where everything that we do, we're very conscious of what that does with the social media apps. You can in the ML era, so the before last month, you can basically train your algorithm to give you content that you really like. TikTok
Mm,
is a great example of this, actually, that if you just watch one specific niche for 2 or 3 seconds, you will get bombarded with that in your feed. The other algorithms used to be slightly slower, and it took a while to get more content of that what you like. TikTok has always been slightly faster, and we believe that that's our thesis is that they've always been on the LLM side, that they always had some kind of model running behind it because it was so good at understanding what you like, up until the point that there's specific creators that I've only seen one very specific niche content from them. And then when I click on their accounts, they basically do 99 other posts for that one post that I actually liked. But I keep seeing only that one little thing. So that's quite a shift now happening on the others too. Exciting, but also kind of creepy. With that, we go to the next one. So it's from pattern matching to meaning making. Not going to read all of this out loud, but basically, the bigger changes are that topical consistency matters more than posting frequency. It is more about you being an expert, owning an entire topic, or building a niche. That's something that we love for the consumer space, actually. Um, just go for one big niche, right? Like that can be surface, that can be one of your topic pillars, or it can be personality wise, and that will work really well. And don't try to do everything because these algorithms will get confused. They already got confused, but they will get more confused by that. Quality of the engagement will outweigh quality or engagement volume, meaning that conversations in your comments are much more important. The saves shares are continuing to be important. We'll get into that later as well. I keep teasing a lot of the content, right? But we'll get to that. And then your profile, your content history, and your claimed expertise need to align. So specifically looking at LinkedIn, where you have quite a lot of fields on your company page or your personal page to fill out, there is the about section, there's all the other little forms that you have. Everything needs to match what you do in content as well. So if you are switching content strategy now, or you know that you are posting different content than you have in your about sections, go change that and fix that because everything is getting crawled and used to basically parse who this is relevant for. What stays the same compared to what we presented last time, saves shares as the primary engagements to optimize for. Genuine conversation will remain we call them meaningful comments, I believe, later, which is something that is very important because they're seen as other users or social media users spending more time on you, which is these are all signals for you for the algorithms that say like, hey, this content is actually relevant for people and it's resonating and worthwhile. Um, wow, that was a lot about AI. So something's changed compared to the last time, but most of our recommendations and learnings later on still definitely make sense. With that, I would like to give it over to Annie, talking about the larger shifts that we have observed before we go into the individual platform changes.
Perfect. Thanks, Frank. So in terms of the shift that you were talking about a little bit on the last slide, um, what we're essentially seeing is a change in what social media is for, or I suppose the platforms are trying to take back what they were originally designed for. We spoke about this on the last webinar, but 2025 was a bit of a year of AI slop. Frank just mentioned, I think Instagram, you said, is like 60% of the content is AI generated. So we're kind of going back to basics here and focusing on platforms are trying to ensure they're being used by brands, by individuals to create valuable information, interesting information, educational content. It's serving the end user what they want to see, not just a bunch of nothing. The old kind of outdated goals of focusing on reach, impressions, visibility at scale that kind of has changed a bit. Social's shifting to become a bit more of a decision engine. People aren't just using it to scroll endlessly. They want to be served content that is valid, enables them to make decisions more effectively. They're thinking, do I trust this information? Why is it useful to me? And that's really dictating how people are engaging with content more and more. So here we've got a pyramid of intent that kind of helps explain that shift. So at the base, we have visibility metrics, not commitment per se. So comments sit in the middle here because you could be eliciting a comment that's just a simple emoji, or it could be a slightly more meaningful comment. Frank had mentioned earlier where someone's asking a follow-up question. You as the brand are responding to that question. You create a dialogue. More people are engaging. That kind of conversation is moving people up the pyramid into very meaningful kind of metrics that the algorithms are monitoring and rewarding you for as a brand. And then towards the top of the pyramid, we've got advocacy and intent metrics would be saves and shares. They're very much like the most powerful signals currently that a lot of the platforms we're going to speak about today are keeping in mind, simply because they're signaling internal intent and external advocacy. So diving into saves and shares a little bit further here. In the decision engine era, the most valuable actions are the ones that show intent. So a save is essentially a digital bookmark. It's telling the platform, hey, I find this useful, I'll need this later. It's a very different signal from a like, which often just means, I noticed this while scrolling. End of story. And then a share goes a little bit further than that. It's a trust transfer. It's when someone sharing a post, they're privately saying to a friend, a colleague, this reflects my thinking, or you should pay attention to this. That is advocacy, not passive engagement. So that's why platforms are now weighing signals in a very specific order. And this is a little bit broad strokes. The order does vary depending on the platform, but we'll get into that. But, saves are really coming in first, shares are followed shortly after, comments, and then likes are sitting at the bottom of that pyramid. It's not just about volume anymore. It's very much about depth and content that helps people. So I think now we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the platforms. And Frank, I'll hand it over to you.
Yes, but before we go to the next slide, we've already used the word niche a few times, and something that we coined in the last webinar is a term that we call nicheification, meaning that, and we wanted to say that before we dive into the platforms, because and what we mean by that is basically picking one niche that is relevant to your target audience and focused on target audiences, not on what you per se want to say. It needs to match to your brand, to what your products or services do. Can be B2B, can be B2C. And that is one very specific element that you focus on of the brand, and then zoom in basically, make that really big. That can be tied to one channel. There's brands out there that have specific channel that have their main channels on Instagram, their country channels on Instagram, and then also niche channels that focus on one specific thing. An easy example is in the automotive space that there's actual channels now for design, automotive design only, of course, to e-mobility, also to things like motorsports and performance, and that basically they've gone away from just the main car channel that does it all, because cars can mean something else to anybody, and that really goes for any different space, that to pick one thing where you can build an audience where you already either have a community or where there's an existing community, or go for something and then basically double down on nicheification to build an audience. And that's a way to also play certain topics that might have not been popular before, but that can find some kind of footing because you're creating content for an audience that they really like, and they will start advocating for you.
Mm-hmm.
With that, we're going to go to Instagram. I love talking about Instagram. Everybody knows this. Let's have a look at Instagram 2026. So we're going to go from top to bottom. Watch time is key specifically for Reels. Completion rate of attention, determine reach, and the first 3 seconds there are critical. So focus on creating content that not just stops people from scrolling in their feeds or specifically in their Reels feed, but also keeps them watching until the end. There's many different techniques for that. Nichification could actually work with that because people are interested in what you're seeing. And the cool thing about the Reels feed is that you're slowly reaching more people that are not just following you, so more TikTok alike. Um, Although that is controversial to say, and Annie will explain later.
I was going to say
DM,
though, Frank, that 3 second rule is totally applicable to TikTok and then also YouTube Shorts. They're all doing kind of the same thing right now.
exactly. Like if they, right, like they're trying to filter out people for whom this was not relevant, and you need 1, 2, or 3 seconds to like decide for yourself. I
Yeah.
noticed that for my own behavior. Like, oh, like what the fuck am I what oh, I just swore, what am I looking at? And then I will scroll further, and that is accounted for with that, and all of the yeah, vertical video feeds do that basically.
Yeah.
Then DM shares, I think you're right. DM shares outweigh likes by 3 to 5 times, and with DM shares we specifically mean on Instagram that little airplane icon that you can share to your friends. So it's not the repost icon, it's the one that you share to your friends. This is very natural behavior now on Instagram. You find a cool meme, you share to people, and those are the accounts that you continue to see. So optimize for those. And thank you for who just said in the. I guess I'm just very frank. Thank you. Um, uh, um, Keeps it authentic. Thank you. Yes, it just came out. The so the DM shares is very important. That is content that has that intrinsic value that people just want to share with others. That signals high intent and drives that discovery with audiences. You do two things basically. If I share a post with Annie, not just I have showed the intent in that, but also Annie will receive an
Mhm.
increased intent in that post because she will look at it and be like, oh, maybe I should share this too. That is a great one to optimize for. It's also one of the trickier ones together with the saves, because that shows signals lasting value. I mean, you're literally telling Instagram, hey, I think this post is so great, has so much value that I will come back to this later.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we have anybody from Meta on the call, but last time I called out that the saves are hard to find and that that whole feature, even though that's one of the primary metrics now, is not very usable. It has become a lot more usable, so thank you for that. It's still, I think, a few clicks away too far because you have to go to your profile page, you have to
It's
click
very
on the
far, yeah.
settings, and that's where the saves are. And but it's gotten a lot better with new categorization features and stuff. So saves, users are basically telling the algorithm, "This is so cool. I'll come back for that." Slider posts work great for that when you offer additional information. A lot of the more lifestyle-y influencers are doing that now as well. They're sharing recipes like that, little travel guides. So it's really reached that lifestyle space as well, because before it was more in the expert space. Right. Those three things I would say are the most important things in Instagram now. Topic consistency, as we discussed before, super relevant as well. Keep an account consistent. You can explore multiple niches on your account, but don't be, I was going to say, don't be a rainbow. I think everybody should be a rainbow, but that's different. Uh, don't be that one shop that offers it all. Try to be more tailored in your content and keep it more consistent. You can also do that in your content franchises, so the way you tell your stories. I just saw a question about hashtags. Um, Keywords and hashtags. Hashtags are a very complicated thing on Instagram at the moment. They don't bring you that much in terms of reach in your algorithm. It is a way to categorize your posts. Now with the updates, the LLM-based algorithm updates, they can read it from the text and
Yeah.
literally take it from the post. So it probably doesn't deliver you that much. It is since last year with the Google SEO update. So Google and Meta are partnering on Instagram posts that you can use them for some SEO purposes. So I would say test it out because in some cases it still works a little bit. Most of my recommendations is to use them for sympathy reasons, that if you're attending a cool event or something, just use the hashtag. It's cute. But don't count on too much reach. I think the most reach per hashtag you would still get in 2016 and 17, and ever since it's been a downward slope. So don't count too much on that. But do include keywords into your content, in your captions. Original content rewarded, synthetic penalized. So as we said before, there's a lot of content already that is AI generated. You have to label that in Instagram. They also just know it by analyzing the content because it's LLM now checking it. Um, organically created content, so human content is a preferred. There is also and we've seen studies where it's shown that hybrid content, so assisted and human content, outperforms fully synthetic content. But a big shift here is, I believe it must have been 2 years ago when Instagram changed that the original post of something. So let's say we're gonna make this into a meme now, and I were to post this, then my original post will get more reach than the repost from Hotwire if they were to take the literal same picture. Similar to how Google penalizes you on SEO when you publish the article 3 times on different websites. Keep that in mind because that is important to know for accounts that do reposts. That's good to rethink that in terms of future user-generated content. You can create a new content piece though out in with that content. It is important to know for bigger meme accounts that have to post original content now and can't function as aggregators. Last thing on Instagram though, the follower count seems to be decoupled from reach almost entirely. It used to follow a follower graph. Each post is tested on a small audience first. Now with that LLM, like that first few minutes is critical, and that performance decides the distribution. And there's this model behind it where they go from uh, close engagers to early engagers, and there's a whole model behind that. It basically works like a halo. And that is all I want to say to Instagram. And then we go to I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. I think Facebook is, I used to be obsessed with Facebook, and I'm now
It's our
going back and forth with
generation.
that. It's very much that.
It was the
It's
original.
one of our first social channels, etc. It's in good, similar to Instagram. Facebook rewards these meaningful interactions and is doubling down on conversation. So where Instagram is much more of a content consumption platform, Facebook is more of that engagement platform, which is funny because it used to be the other way around. About 30% of your personal feeds is now recommended to users from accounts you don't follow, which is great for us also. If you have content that goes into a specific niche, you're actually going to be able to reach people again in the there's also a kind of a for you feed function. This differs actually per region, I noticed, and that's the same for Instagram. There's many features that are available not everywhere due to specific lawsuits, which we're not going to get into today. Drop a comment though if you would want that. Shares and comments are weighted higher than likes, so also more quality engagements are meaningful here. Groups are actually the biggest it's a public secret on on Facebook where the engagement is. They have probably right now over 2 billion monthly users, and content shared in groups is also prioritized in your feeds. Um, they are doing a bunch with video, very similar to Reels. They also do stories on the platform, and long form tends to perform there as well, but also there follow a strategy that has very specific content because the algorithms are very sensitive to that. Original content is rewarded, very similar to Instagram. Recycled content doesn't work. Fake engagement accounts are being removed. This has been a thing for over 15 years now that they remove a lot of accounts that are fake and spammy. And something interesting though, publisher referral traffic is rebounding. That means that media are getting a slice back again on Facebook. So keep in mind that it might be worth it to check, for example, with coverage there, experiment with link posts, but keep that added value in mind. And with that, we go to TikTok.
TikTok. Okay. So a couple changes here since our last time, our last webinar. So follower first testing is something that's come into play. This is really interesting. So it's also kind of one of the more notable structural changes to the TikTok's distribution system. So previously, TikTok tested every video with a random sample of users, comprised of some of your followers and then also non-followers alike. But a brand new account in that way could reach millions, because if the algorithm evaluated content independently of a creator's size but the quality made sense, the world was your oyster. Now your followers do act as a bit of a launch pad. What does that mean for brand pages? You still need to focus just on an audience first mindset. What are people coming to you for? Are you delivering against what they hope to see from your channel? Are you giving them the kind of value add that they seek from you? If so, from that group of engaged followers, you will then have your content reach out to a wider group of non-followers. But catering to audience expectations is important for a brand channel. So then we've also got prioritizing meaningful engagement over passive consumption. This is just the conversation we've been having throughout the whole kind of metrics that matter. Links, views, watch time, they are important, but they've definitely been downweighed on TikTok in favor of things like comments, saves, shares. So just continue to consider what types of comments are you getting on your brand channels. Are certain topics or kind of content formats driving higher volumes of saves and shares? Definitely play around and test and learn, because those metrics are going to deliver your channel value time and time again. From a rewatch perspective, so rewatch time and completion rate are still extremely important on this platform. TikTok and multiple third-party guides explicitly emphasize completion rate, replays, and time spent as core ranking factors for the For You page. So I was doing a little bit of research, and in 2024, a video needed about 50% completion rate to signal quality and wider distribution. Now in 2026, the threshold has jumped a lot. It sits around 70%, which is a lot. And this indicates that the algorithm's first question, again, it's not did people like this, but did people keep watching this, which is quite interesting. And I'm going to get to LinkedIn after, but there are some similarities with LinkedIn actually and YouTube, because their goal as a platform is to keep people in platform. So as a content creator, as a brand, are you delivering against that? It's not the priority objective you should be trying to achieve, but it is a signal that the algorithm takes into consideration. Next, we have, I haven't called it out here, but I did just want to touch on a concept TikTok introduced. It's called qualified views. So essentially, what is a qualified view? It's where the user watches for at least 5 seconds. Again, we've spoken about, 3 seconds initial hook. That's really, really important to make sure that you're retaining viewer attention. So the first 3 seconds still matter in order to just deliver on what audiences expect. But the qualified views is a literal signal that the algorithm is starting to monitor for. And it's extremely important to kind of, again, in end of month reporting, monitor how that metric changes based on subject matter of a video. If you've done a partnership with an influencer, are they delivering higher value? Like, could that be a tactic you apply to more of your content throughout the year? We spoke about actually TikTok as a search engine on the previous webinar as well. And this hasn't really changed. It's just TikTok is increasingly becoming a place that not just younger audiences like Gen Z go to, myself included. I'm often finding I increasingly go to this platform to search, how to videos or best, X near me, best barber, best for travel related content instead of Google. So what does that mean for the type of content you're creating from like a search engine optimization? Oh, Frank, you look like you're about to jump in.
Well, I was gonna let you finish your sentence. I think this is an interesting development that we've been seeing over the past few years, where you used to go to YouTube basically, but
Yeah,
like YouTube kind of stole a part of the tutorials off of, let's say, I'm gonna have to change the wall plug. Is
yeah,
that the correct word? The inlet? How do
the
you call that?
outlet.
Yes, the outlet. I'm gonna change my wall outlets, right? Because that's an actual thing that I have to do this weekend. And then right, like you used to just go to Google and be like, okay, I'll just find a website, then I have to read it. Then YouTube came around with that, right? Like there was a lot of tutorial and help content talking 15 years ago, where you could just go there and find, and then you would find like a 10 to 15-minute video explaining
Yeah,
the whys of the hows and everything. And that is great, but sometimes you just want to have that little explanation. And that's where TikTok really took that over the last few years as a search engine, because there is a video that is maybe 30 seconds long that tells you exactly what to do. And
yeah,
there's so many tips and tricks shared on TikTok, and their search algorithm is kind of good if you know how
yeah.
it works in the search bar. And that is such a funny space to be in that they just took that over, because it's also relevant, because in the most cases you don't need a 10-minute video to change the
Yeah.
wall outlet.
But it's interesting because if you're a brand and you have done a 10-minute long YouTube video, you consider how do I turn this into TikTok relevant snippets? And that's how you, again, you approach content considering what does the audience on a platform look for. And you cater to your audience needs and consumption habits. But yeah, I think the search engine optimization in social is really, really interesting. Because also, so when you're publishing on TikTok, the algorithm considers from a search engine optimization perspective, keywords in the video caption hashtags. So that is a platform where hashtags are still playing a role. Um, Text, it can detect on screen. Audio, it can transcribe, and then also just general engagement and watch metrics when users react to the content. So yeah, there's a lot of guidance, free guidance TikTok provides on search engine optimization and platform. I would definitely recommend if you haven't baked that into content planning and strategy, it's one to certainly look into further. I think I touched on this. Engagement velocity matters. Essentially, when you're publishing content, it goes to that follower first testing batch. And if content's not deemed relevant by that audience, you are stuck in, it happens all the time to brands or personal pages, that like 200, 300 view like purgatory. It's becoming increasingly hard to break out of that cycle on this platform. So again, just considering things with an audience first mindset. Um, but now we will, oh, we got a question. Is it relevant to say Instagram? Let's actually pick that one up at the end. I think that's a really fun question. We'll both have a lot to say. Okay. YouTube. So YouTube is an extremely crazy place. It is not an easy place to navigate. YouTube does not have just one algorithm, it has five. One for the home, suggested videos, search, subscriptions, and shortcuts. And they all run on separate recommendation systems, different primary signals. So what works on one will not work on another. It is complex. It is so fun. It is a place where your analytics will teach you how to improve. So we'll dive into a little bit now, but interestingly, satisfaction is the new watch time. Watch time used to be a metric on YouTube that was kind of king for so long. But increasingly, YouTube has been running viewer survey reports, and it feeds into, in 2025, there was a shift to satisfaction weighted discovery. So now the algorithm measures whether viewers felt that their time was well spent. Again, really considering, are people getting what they want out of your content? Like it's very important. YouTube distributes kind of post-watch surveys asking viewers to rate videos, but then they've also trained ML models that predict survey responses for users, which is wild. They also have the algorithm reads satisfaction based on user behavior, such as session continuation or repeat viewing, and also sentiment modeling, which picks up on comment tone. So all of those things factor into the satisfaction of the end user. So it's a massive shift. And it just means that at the end of the day, you as a brand need to determine or understand your audience very well. So in terms of the other updates we have here, short algorithms operate separately. Yes. So shorts are now kind of serve as a testing ground for long-term recommendations, but the strategies applied to long format and short, they do differ. They have different algorithm needs. You know, they require two separate strategies. So you should, you know, play around with shorts for reach and discovery, but long form for depth and retention, which is what YouTube is known for and does really well. Subscriber count decoupled from reach. I think this is a really fun one. We talk about, you know, follower count. Is it important? Is it not? For YouTube, we've officially debunked it. Actually, YouTube debunked it. You know, small channels are not to be ignored. You know, channels under 1,000 subscribers now represent 30% of all new videos in the top 100 of trending niche categories. So again, this is a platform where you don't need to have the largest following. You just have to have quality content. And the algorithm will kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. About 70% of all views are coming from algorithm. So if computer says no, you're in a bit of trouble. Yes, session time remains a key metric. This one here, how long are viewers staying on YouTube after your video? It's an interesting one because it's feeding into the YouTube ecosystem. If someone's come to your content, they like what they see and they stay on afterwards, both those videos are rewarded. So it's, again, not something that you can predict as the person publishing your content, but it all feeds into what does well in platform. So that wraps up our YouTube kind of updates. And then final sprint here. So LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, again, it's an interesting one. It's a channel from a B2B perspective that we all know is invaluable for us. But just to take a step back, the 2026 algorithm has 4 stages on LinkedIn. So it's initial quality classification, initial audience test, engagement scoring, and then extended distribution. So there is a lot going on behind the scenes here. And so earlier this year, they came out with a new primary ranking signal, which is called the depth score. We did touch on this in the last webinar, but it measures specifically saves, private shares, dwell time, and comment depth. So again, it's kind of reiterating everything we've been chatting about earlier, but you know, how long are users spending on your content matters. That's dwell time. It's a primary quality signal, outranking likes and comments, shallow comments. Why are they doing this? Again, they're trying to keep people in platform. So it's the same reason why external links are heavily penalized. You should not be driving people out of platform. Sometimes you have to, if you're posting about a press release, fine, but not every piece of content can be accompanied by a link where your performance will suffer.
Yeah, like there's only a few reasons when you can really post a link and it will fly. One of the only posts that I've seen was a CEO in North America. I think it was from General Motors, and she shared her time cover. That's it. That's a great link post.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
hyper relevant. It's about you. It has that additional relevance, but try to just steer away from the links. Also, LinkedIn has an incredibly it has an incredibly tight feed. You all might notice this when you're advertising. It's hard to spend those budgets. It's hard to reach people. People don't refresh their feeds as much as they do. It just works differently than how you're scrolling on things like TikTok, etc. So keep that in mind.
Oh, I'm seeing good comment in here. Are external links on LinkedIn penalized as much if they're if you link in the comments? So I know, I think the algorithm's gotten quite smart. It's still a penalty for sure. Because ultimately the user action is the user is driven out of platform. So the gamification around like figuring out what signals the algorithm does and does not like is increasingly being factored into. So I would say the guidance still applies.
Let's take that one at the end because that's a
Okay.
very big question. Love
Okay,
that.
nice. I'm loving these questions.
Yeah, keep them coming. There's also a Q&A section where there's one question in the chat is also fine. Just fire off.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're near the end here. So external links being penalized, meaningful interactions. So yes, we've I don't want to beat a dead horse, but comments are a way to get feedback from your audience. They are a way to literally communicate with your audience. It is a way to establish a relationship. It's two-way dialogue. And the algorithm very much pays attention to this, especially on LinkedIn, because it is meant to be a sort of business communications channel. If you are putting content out there and not engaging in continuing the conversation, you're using this as a one-way channel to blast your own information and not continue the conversation. It is definitely recognized. And then the last piece here. Oh, actually, I'll just go into comments. So things the algorithm pays attention to, it'd be comment length. Longer, thoughtful comments really signal your content sparked real thinking. Comment threads, so back and forth conversations, as I mentioned, a sort of two-way dialogue will dramatically boost distribution. Comment velocity, so getting comments quickly. Again, the velocity bit it's important, and the whole when is the right time to post is again a question we get often, and unfortunately the answer is you just need to pay attention to when your audience is engaging with things the most. So yeah, reviewing performance in the past, if you cater to a certain market or content appeals to a certain market, keep those considerations in mind, because if folks aren't seeing that, responding to it, sharing it, saving it right away, the algorithm will sort of hold it back. And then, the algorithm, the last piece about LinkedIn, it really ranks posts by relevance, expertise, quality, and meaningful comments. It's the same kind of guidance across the board, which is why I mentioned earlier, we're sort of just going back to basics. These platforms are trying to crawl people back from the AI slop. I'm sure a lot of people on this call have probably seen a high volume of LinkedIn thought leadership going on in the last year or so, just in time for like people to be able to use LLMs to create content for them. It's not authentic, it's not valuable, it's not interesting, it's not engaging, and it's not thought provoking. So we're just trying to claw our way out of that again. That's LinkedIn.
And that's that. One more slide before we get to the rest. And I want to kind of unveil why did we call this Beyond Vanity? That is, and you heard us talking about it. The follower metric is a full vanity metric. It says nothing. It's cool to show off, but that's really just it. Hence the word vanity. There are some things connected to the follower metric, what Annie explained about TikTok, for example. Instagram also used to have a follower graph, basically. So there's some remnants of that, but if you're looking at smaller audiences, it doesn't really help you. We've seen pages on many platforms like LinkedIn with millions of followers getting only a couple of likes. And myself with my few thousand followers on LinkedIn I get tenfold that with those certain pages. Not going to call those out, those consulting firms. And then there's pages with like almost no followers that can have content that really resonates. All these algorithms, as Annie just said, like they're all trying to engage with humans, and they're all trying to do that. So really proper, good content gets that additional reach, and that's why we call this Beyond Vanity. Really, the next final slide. So how to stay ahead in 2026 in social media is to spark interaction, really get those conversations going, inspire people, talk about meaningful things, bring up a little, was going to say controversy, but bring up something that people want to talk about, bring up, break through barriers, taboos. Don't play it too safe. Stay constructive though, please. Engineer your content to hold attention until the end. That goes for video content, but that is also for all of those, right? Like this, I'm calling it a slider, the carousel, the document post, or that format where on Instagram and on all the other platforms you just swipe through photos. That is an amazing format to also engineer the attention until the end, because you're delivering that additional value. That is also a great thing that works with saves and shares, by the way, because people just love those. Just make a collection of memes, basically, not just one. Then we'll get to questions in a bit. Stay focused, right? Like stay close to your topic consistency, your brand niche. Build up those series, build up those franchises that you communicate about, because people will ultimately engage with you for that. And as I explained early on with TikTok, the algorithms actually know what you're posting now with being LLM based. So they will understand, okay, this is a very specific series. For Hotwire, we just launched a Coffee with Grant, next episode, hopefully coming out next month. And hopefully LinkedIn will also understand, okay, this is a little series going on, and will signify that to the people that engage with that, that really appreciated that. Go check it out on our global LinkedIn page. And then again, go original. Build brand-led video that it will outperform AI-generated content. Use the people that you have to communicate. Use your brand assets. Create something that is meaningful. Trends are great, but original content will always be just be the trendsetter in that way. And create background content, content that people can relate to, content that people really want to see, and that is not just created for an algorithm. And I would say with that, stay ahead of the curve in 2026. Um, I would say let's get to the questions. We have a bunch of them in the chat. Annie, do you
Yeah.
want to pick one? And thank you all, by the way. We're sticking around for 13 more minutes. And we can afterwards. We have a bunch of questions. Annie can pick the first.
I think the question around is it relevant to say Instagram invites B2B and TikTok is more B2C? This is a question I think probably both of us hear a lot. And we were actually chatting about this before the call, how do we ensure we're talking to B2B and B2C brands? Um, again, it's such an annoying response, but I'd say it comes down to the target audience you want to focus on, because TikTok is not comprised of just Gen Z individuals. Obviously, LinkedIn has made a case for itself to be the place to talk about corporate storytelling, brand thought leadership. However, it is completely appropriate to do the same on TikTok. It depends on who you're trying to reach, though, is probably the high level guidance, I would say.
I would say that you can be B2B or B2C on every channel. I'm seeing a lot of, so I am also in a marketing space, as we all are, and I'm seeing an uptick on videos that reach me about SaaS products, things that I might like to do. If you get into AI TikTok, you get a bunch of videos that are contents and content creators that I would actually put into B2B into B2B space because it's more work related. Instagram and TikTok are both fabulous at finding an audience for you and to really give that what you need, which is just absolutely fantastic. LinkedIn is very tricky because people outperform business pages, and many businesses use business pages. So
Yeah.
go and try out Instagram and TikTok, I would say on that
Yeah.
one.
I would say also it's interesting because Instagram feels like a place that I've noticed a lot of brands focus on employee storytelling, I'd say, showcasing events or people related stories, which is great because it's very visual, but it doesn't need to strictly be used for that at all. Frank. Oh, we have a question. Which one would you like to choose next?
We have so many, so thank you so much. That's great. Did we already cover the hashtag question? I think not, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's let's just say the era of hashtags is over. Right now, you can still use them for to signify to the algorithms and to search to why that is what your content is about, but they will understand the intent from your content anyway because they can categorize your videos and your images. Um, and it is, if Adam Mosseri said that it's not pushing new content to new audiences how they used to, then that is the case. We've been not recommending hashtags for many years now on all platforms, actually, except for TikTok. That's a place where you can still add some hashtags and actually explore that. The easiest way to see if to check if a hashtag if hashtags still work in your niche or in your on the specific platform is to just go into the interface and click on the hashtags and to see what actually happens there. If you see a lot of posts that do not get engagement, don't even use it. But overall, content first, hashtags fifth priority.
Um, I
External
think.
links we talked about in copy in the comments as well.
Mhm.
Keep in mind that LinkedIn is very busy in the feed, so just try to stay away from that. And I think that hangs together with the question that I saw here. What's the best way to lead audience to an external link to sign up for an event, a QR code in a graphic? I know that we as Hotwire are very guilty of doing a lot of promotional and teasing content as well for our events. The general consensus is content works on LinkedIn. That is just advertising. So try to use advertising methods like right? Like you can just do link ads and things. And if it's hyper relevant, then people will follow and they will find you. Come up with cool ways to get people into the funnel, basically, when you want people to attend. Do a video trailer. Do right like deploy multiple tactics than just link posts.
Yeah. Do we want to touch on the question around saves and shares as strong signals and then bridging awareness to demand?
Yes, please.
This is a fun one as well because I think the challenge with awareness organic content is often you're trying to prove the business impact, and it's sort of just feeding into the user's journey. The awareness stage, while it's not delivering a lead, it's warming up an audience. You've identified who your target is that you're trying to speak to. You've identified pain points that they have or challenges that your business can help solve, and you're educating them, you're entertaining them, you're feeding them information they didn't know. And ideally, if you're doing those things, you're probably going to get a save or a share because someone's deemed that information valuable to them. And then what does that do? It kind of warms them up. Potentially, you start running paid activity. You are moving people slowly down the funnel, but it's a tactic that feeds into still like top of funnel portion of the journey, I would say. Frank, anything to add to that?
I would say let's do a next question and try to answer as many as we can. I have a few. I see a few where we can do some. We can do some rapid answers. Here's one question that asked. I think that was during the LinkedIn bit. Am I rewarded for asking my audience for comments or a question and there is no response? I think the simple answer is no. Experiment with what actually gets people to react to your comments. A simple way is to
Yes.
just get friends and colleagues to respond. That is something that we recommend to all of our clients. If you're either a person or a brand, go out there and actively engage with other posts because that is a way to signify, hey, I am active, and it will do cool algorithmic things and put you out there.
Yeah,
That's
I would
the
also say the language I'd used earlier about like engagement bait, I think is algorithms are specifically being trained to not fall for those traps that unfortunately social experts have come up with, where yeah, you're leading the witness almost to get them to do the what you want, but really the platform wants to know, does the end user deem this valuable enough to comment on it?
Exactly. And I see one in the Q&A that is, what platform is currently undervalued in B2B? Where do you see the biggest untapped potential and why? For me, it's YouTube. For a multitude of reasons. One, it's more intensive to produce for, and two, YouTube has a lot of spillover into other channels, into Google search, and now also into LLMs. Gemini tends to analyze videos that have not been watched by humans, but it can actually use it. And YouTube is just this fantastic way to actually reach people on multiple devices, TVs, phones, tablets, desktops, etc. So I would say YouTube is my pick for the undervalued B2B channel. What is yours, Annie?
I think I agree with you because YouTube is great, but it's maybe a higher production value, which is why I would also say brands that are not on TikTok, you could try TikTok as well because a lot of B2B brands are not using that platform because they don't think their audience is there. And it's shorter, snappier content. Obviously B2C brands are heavily using that platform. But I would say that you can also run like 10-minute long videos on TikTok now. So similar reasons for you, but I would say TikTok.
Oh, love that. Yeah, that's a great pick. I see a question here too. How can brands balance the pressure to move fast and follow trends with the platform's growing emphasis on originality, retention, and genuine engagement? Also, a short answer, don't follow trends. If you don't have the means to follow up with a bunch of content that you can produce really quickly, some brands can. Love that, respect you a lot. A lot of companies can't. So go into the niche, build up a niche, be that expert, create content that really resonates with your audience, and you can occasionally jump on a trend, but that's not what social is for. That you follow the masses, you go for original content.
Yeah, I agree. This is a fun question. Where did it go? About LinkedIn being a confusing place, spending time crafting work-related content for consistency with your profile, but when a Facebook-esque selfie from um, allotment drives more engagement, is it a selfie thing rather than a content thing? I think for a personal profile, ultimately personal storytelling still does really well. So I think that's actually a really fun question. And it definitely can sometimes be a bit of heartbreak when you realize just being a bit goofy drives more engagement than trying to be serious and convince people into work related stuff. But I'd say it's a balance. Showing personality is not necessarily always a bad thing on LinkedIn. However, people at the end of the day do support people that they know. You look like you don't agree with that, Frank.
No, I just love this question for that exact fact. During many of the trainings that we do with XX, we always ask how comfortable are you taking selfies because we know
Yeah,
it does well in engagement. And the only thing I would add here is that think of production quality, production value, and content quality. Ultimately, you're capturing people mid scroll, and you want to use all of the features that you have to basically be on top of that. Thumb, I would say, or below the thumb to get people to stop to enjoy your content. And in some cases, a Facebook-esque selfie actually works. It definitely is better than those awkward conference pictures where
yeah,
everybody's in a group and there's a lot of stuff that you shouldn't be seeing.
yeah.
People tend to
It,
prefer people content.
yeah. I was going to say maybe to that point, it's a pattern interrupt because, yeah, people are on LinkedIn expecting very corporate done up stuff. And then sometimes when they see a bit of a personal moment, it does catch intrigue, I would say.
It's a very good one. I think I shared one with you, Annie, last week where there was something about something is dead on social media, and it was just with blood, and we were both like, "Oh, this is gruesome," but we both looked at it and engaged
Yeah, it
because it
stops you. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
absolutely. Um, I feel that brands need to revisit their sorry. I feel that brands need to revisit their brand values and refresh their understanding of how those relate to their niches. Um, I think there should be a question mark behind that. Yes, you should be a brand in the social age, and but what you don't need to do your entire brand refresh, but you can create your brand personality for social media specifically, and create a channel strategy that's very dedicated towards that. But like you can, there's certain brands that have great support channels that really only do. There's this one back brand that I follow basically with all accessories, and they do content about how to repair that, how to keep it clean, and they do that across the board. They don't just do the content like that. They also do a lot of community management. They help people on Reddit. They have great customer service. So you can make one part of your brand your entire social media presence that you'll be known for and that people will be talking about. It is a myth that you need to convey all of your values in social media. Try to be famous for one thing, not all things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's looking inward to understand again, who are we trying to speak to? Are we speaking to them? And if not, how do we need to kind of shake up our plan and approach? Do we have time for one
Absolutely.
more? We're like at 1 minute left.
Yes, you can pick it.
Um, I think the question around given authenticity is so important, how emotional and real can a company LinkedIn page go? I think that's a really good question. And it's a reminder that a LinkedIn page is not meant to act as like a diary, I would say. Emotion is important, but still from a corporate perspective, I think consider how you convey brand values and mission, and that will convey an emotional reaction in your audience. I think that's why LinkedIn is a really great platform for showcasing again uh, brand storytelling in terms of community impact. Do you have a good community impact story to tell? Like that will elicit a very, very strong emotional reaction in comparison to product related storytelling. Or, does your product actually impact the quality of a person or a business's? Maybe that does actually have an emotional reaction to tell. I don't know. Um, yeah, that I think it can be baked into
Be
things beyond just gushy storytelling.
yes, be original, be yourself, and don't do things that others have already done. I kept seeing the creativity doesn't live in PowerPoint presentations, and then the rest of the post did not really give me anything. So where does creativity live? Probably in PowerPoint presentations. Um, final homework for all of y'all before we start rounding it up. Try to become a student of an algorithm or of a channel in order to inform your own social strategy. Annie and I are on social too much and we know too much about it. But try to spot those patterns. And what we're seeing now with these LLM-based algorithms that especially those things like Instagram, they're going to be very sensitive. So like a few posts and you will only see posts like that. So if that's what you want, that's great. Um, I'm going to say a major thank you to Annie and a major thank you to, we were actually supposed to be hosted by Sarah Calhorn, but she
Oh,
had
yes.
another priority. But huge shout out to her. Huge shout out to Carlos. Thank you so much. Anything you want to say to the audience, Annie?
No, thank you. Really, really good questions. Extremely fun. Thank you, Frank. Always a pleasure hosting with you. And hopefully, we get to speak to everyone very soon.
Absolutely. Reach out to LinkedIn if you have any questions. I believe our marketing colleagues will make the recording and the PDF available online soon. Thank you all for participating. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.